The war was finally over. For years, the galaxy had been a place of fear and destruction. Planets had been burned, cities ruined, and families torn apart. People had lost hope, and even the bravest souls wondered if peace would ever return. But now the war was over and a new era was beginning. People celebrated cautiously, rebuilding their homes, tending to their lands, and welcoming the chance to live without fear. On the vibrant planet of Eldoria, the alien princess Zara watched the skies from the palace balcony. She had grown up with duty and responsibility as her closest companions. Her people looked to her not only as their leader, but as a symbol of hope. Since her childhood, she had dreamed of a day when peace would return, though she had always known that the price for it could be high. Memories of her lost friend Kale came to her often. Kale had been her closest companion, her confidant. Together, they had roamed the palace gardens, explored hidden paths, and laughed without worry about the troubles of the world. They shared secrets, made promises, and imagined a future full of adventures. But when war broke out, Kale had left to join the army. He had promised to return, and Zara had clung to that promise for years, though she had never known if she would truly see him again. Now, news spread that the hero who had ended the war and brought peace to countless planets was returning. His name was Kale. Crowds filled the streets of the capital city, cheering for the man who had survived battles that seemed impossible. Banners waved, flags flew, and celebrations filled every corner of the city. People from distant worlds sent gifts and messages of thanks. Zara felt a mixture of emotions she could not explain. Pride, fear, excitement, and unease all collided inside her. Could this hero, celebrated across the galaxy, truly be the same boy who had once climbed trees and shared stories with her? Years had passed. Time had changed them both. She took a deep breath, steadying herself as the royal guards announced his arrival. The sky above the palace lit up with starships returning from the war. The largest vessel carried Kyle and his closest companions. As the ship descended, the crowds cheered louder, waving flags and holding signs. The sound of excitement, relief, and hope was almost deafening. Zara felt her heart race as she realized she would soon see him again, after all these years. When Kale stepped off the ship, the applause was thunderous. He was taller, his shoulders broad, and his presence commanding. His uniform gleamed, decorated with medals and insignias earned through courage and skill. Yet despite the weight of his accomplishments, there was something in his eyes that seemed familiar. Something that made Zara's chest tighten with recognition. The palace had prepared a grand ceremony. Leaders from neighboring planets, diplomats, and citizens all attended to honor the returning hero. Zara, dressed in her ceremonial robes, met Kale in the grand hall. Protocol demanded a formal greeting, but for a moment words felt unnecessary. Their eyes met, and both felt the strange, undeniable pull of the past. "Your Highness," Kyle said, bowing respectfully, "it is an honor to be here." Zara nodded, trying to keep her composure. "The honor is mine, Kyle. Your deeds have brought hope to many." They walked side by side through the hall, acknowledging the citizens and dignitaries. The crowd cheered at every turn, but Zara found herself focused only on him. She noticed the familiar curve of his smile, the way he stood, and the spark in his eyes. The boy she had known was still there, hidden beneath the armor of a hero. After the formal events, Zara invited Kale to a private chamber. The room was quiet, with the soft glow of lanterns casting gentle shadows. They sat across from each other, hesitant at first. The years of separation had built a wall of silence between them, but both could feel the old connection trying to resurface. "You've changed," Zara said softly, studying his face. Kale smiled faintly. "And you too. Time changes everyone, doesn't it?" Zara nodded, unsure of what to say next. Memories of their childhood flooded back. The games they had played, the secrets they had shared, the promises they had made. It all seemed so distant, yet so close. She wanted to ask if he remembered, if he felt the same way, but fear held her tongue. "I remember a promise," Kale said quietly. "A promise to protect someone no matter what. I hope you remember." Zara's heart skipped a beat. Could it really be him? The boy she had trusted with her life. The friend who had made her laugh even in the darkest times. Was he the hero who had ended the war? She nodded slowly, trying to keep her composure while her mind raced with memories and questions. The conversation ended with polite words, but the connection between them could not be ignored. Each gesture, each glance carried a weight of shared history. Kale's presence stirred something deep within Zara, a mixture of joy, nostalgia, and a longing she had not felt in years. She realized that despite the changes brought by time and war, the bond they shared as children had never truly vanished. As night fell, Zara returned to the balcony, gazing at the stars above. The city below shimmered with lights and celebration, but her thoughts were with Kale. She knew that the days ahead would be filled with challenges, public duties, political decisions, and the expectations of her people, but she also felt a spark of hope. Perhaps in this time of peace, she and Kale could rediscover what they had once shared. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if the universe itself were watching, waiting for the reunion of two souls whose paths had once crossed and now converged again. The war had ended, but a new story was beginning, one that would bring healing, friendship, and perhaps even the rekindling of a bond that had survived the test of time. For the first time in years, Zara allowed herself to hope. Hope for peace, hope for her people, and hope that the boy she had once called her friend, and perhaps something more, was finally back. The morning after the grand ceremony, Princess Zara awoke early. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of her chamber, painting the room in soft gold. Even as the galaxy celebrated peace, Zara could not shake the thoughts of Kale. The memories of their childhood, mixed with the recent encounter, filled her mind. She wondered if the boy she once knew could truly be the hero who had brought the war to an end. The palace was bustling with activity. Advisors moved quickly from room to room, diplomats arrived from distant planets, and citizens sent gifts and messages for the princess and the hero. Yet Zara felt a quiet tension in her chest. She had ruled her people for years, but the return of Kale brought emotions she had not expected. Pride, curiosity, and a touch of fear all mingled within her. She decided she could no longer ignore it. That afternoon, Kale requested a private audience with the princess. When he arrived at her chamber, he moved with the calm confidence of a soldier. But there was a gentleness in his eyes that reminded Zara of the boy she had grown up with. He bowed respectfully, but for a moment both remained silent, studying each other. "Princess Zara," Kyle began, his voice steady yet soft. "Thank you for seeing me." Zara nodded. "Kale, it has been many years. I must admit I did not know what to expect." Kale smiled faintly, the corner of his lips lifting in a way that sparked memories of their childhood. "Neither did I, so much has changed. And yet," he hesitated, searching for the right words, "and yet some things feel strangely familiar." Zara's heart skipped a beat. She remembered the countless hours spent with him in the palace gardens, the whispered secrets under the moonlight, the laughter that had once echoed through the hallways. Could it be that the bond they had shared as children had survived, even through war and distance? Kale continued, "Do you remember the promise we made long ago?" Zara's eyes widened. "The promise?" she asked. "To always protect each other," Kyle said, his voice soft but firm, "even if the world changes, even if time separates us." For a moment, the past and present seemed to merge. Zara felt tears prick her eyes, though she quickly blinked them away. "I remember," she whispered. "I never forgot." Kale nodded, relief flickering across his face. "Neither did I, that promise. It kept me going through the darkest days of the war. I held on to it, hoping I would see you again." Zara's mind raced. How could the boy she had trusted so completely now be standing before her as a hero, a man who had fought battles she could only imagine? She realized that the boy she had known and the hero before her were the same person, shaped by courage, sacrifice, and years of hardship. They spent hours talking, sharing memories from their past. They laughed over stories of playful mischief in the palace, of hidden corners and secret paths only they had known. They spoke of dreams they had once held, and of the fears that had haunted them during the war. Each story, each memory brought them closer, building a bridge between their childhood and the present. Yet alongside the warmth of shared memories, there was an undercurrent of sorrow. Kale spoke of the battles he had fought, the friends he had lost, and the worlds he had seen destroyed. Zara listened quietly, feeling the weight of his experiences. She understood that the hero she admired had paid a heavy price for peace, and still beneath the armor of a soldier, the boy she had known remained, kind, brave, and loyal. As the afternoon faded into evening, Kale stood by the window, looking out at the city below. "Zara," he said quietly, "I never imagined I would return to find you as you are now. Strong, wise, and a true leader. I am proud of you." Zara felt warmth spread through her chest. "And I am proud of you, Kale. You fought for peace. You saved countless lives. The galaxy owes you more than words can express." For a moment, they stood in silence, letting the weight of their words settle. Outside, the city celebrated peace, but inside the palace, a different celebration took place. A quiet reunion of two hearts that had been separated by time and war. Kale turned to Zara, a serious expression on his face. "I have a request," he said. "Now that the war is over, I want to help you rebuild. Not just the palace or the city, but the hope of your people. Together we can make a difference." Zara considered his words. She had always been cautious, careful not to let personal feelings interfere with her duties. Yet she felt a deep trust in Kale, a trust that had existed since their childhood. "I would like that," she said finally. "We can work together. Your experience, your wisdom, it will be invaluable." A gentle smile spread across Kale's face. "Then it is settled. Together." As night fell, they walked through the palace gardens, the same paths they had once explored as children. The flowers smelled sweeter, the moonlight softer, and yet everything felt familiar. They spoke quietly, sharing plans for rebuilding, for helping those who had suffered during the war. And in their conversation, a subtle understanding grew, an unspoken bond that no time, distance, or hardship could break. Zara realized that Kale's return was more than the return of a hero. It was the return of a friend, a companion, and perhaps something even deeper. She felt a sense of hope she had not experienced in years, a hope that the past and the present could come together. That friendship could survive even the harshest trials. By the time they returned to the palace, the stars shone brightly above, casting a silver glow over the city. Zara stood on the balcony looking at the sky, feeling the warmth of Kale's presence beside her. The war had ended, but their journey was just beginning. Together, they would face the challenges of rebuilding a galaxy and rediscovering the bond that had started long ago, in the innocence of childhood. For the first time in many years, Zara allowed herself to believe in the possibility of happiness. Not just for her people, but for herself. And standing there beside her, Kale seemed to feel the same. A hero who had returned to find not only peace in the galaxy, but also a connection that had survived every obstacle. The night was quiet, but their hearts were full. The hero had returned, and the princess had rediscovered her friend. And somewhere deep inside, both knew that this reunion was only the beginning of a story that would change their lives forever. Days passed since Kale's return, and the palace was alive with activity. Advisors discussed rebuilding plans, diplomats exchanged ideas for peace treaties, and citizens celebrated in the streets. Yet for Princess Zara, the world seemed quieter, almost as if the noise of the celebrations had little effect on her thoughts. Kale remained close, assisting with meetings, walking beside her through the gardens, and offering advice wherever it was needed. But beneath the calm routine, a storm of emotions churned within her. She could not stop thinking about the connection she felt with Kale. The more time she spent with him, the more the memories of her childhood came alive. She remembered the way he had always looked out for her, how he would run to catch her whenever she tripped, and the small promises they had whispered under the stars. And yet, Kale was not the boy she had known. He was a hero, a warrior who had faced countless battles and seen things no child should ever see. The contrast between the innocence of their past and the reality of the present made her heart ache. One afternoon, Zara invited Kale to walk with her through the palace gardens. The flowers were in full bloom, and the air was sweet with their fragrance. Birds sang softly in the trees, and a gentle breeze carried the promise of a peaceful day. As they walked along the familiar paths, Zara decided it was time to speak what she had kept inside. "Kale," she began, her voice quiet but steady, "there is something I need to ask you. Something important." Kale turned to her, his eyes filled with curiosity and concern. "Anything, Zara, you can ask me anything." She took a deep breath. "When you were a boy, when we were children, did you ever think about me?" Her words trembled slightly, betraying the nervousness she felt. Kale paused, as if the question had unlocked a door he had kept closed for many years. "Every day," he admitted softly. "Even when the war began, Even when I was far away on distant planets, I thought of you. I remembered your laughter, your courage, the way you always believed in me. It, it kept me going. Zara felt her chest tighten. She had hoped for this answer, but hearing it aloud stirred emotions she had not expected. I thought of you too, she said. I never stopped thinking about you, Kyle. Even when I had to focus on ruling, your memory was always with me. For a moment they walked in silence, letting the weight of their shared confession settle. The garden seemed to embrace them, the sun casting warm light on their faces, and then Kale spoke, his voice gentle but serious. There is something else you should know, Zara, he said, about the war, about the battles I fought, and about who I became. I am not just the hero you see before you now. I am still the boy you knew. That boy, he never left me. Every decision I made, every battle I fought was with him in my heart, thinking of you, thinking of the promises we made. Zara stopped walking, turning to face him fully. Her eyes searched his, looking for the boy she had known so long ago. Kale, is it really you? Are you my childhood friend? Kale's eyes softened. Yes, Zara, it's me. The boy who ran with you through the palace gardens, who promised to always protect you. That boy is still here. The man you see now is shaped by the years of war, but inside I am still him. Tears welled in Zara's eyes. She had imagined this moment for years, but reality felt different, stronger and more overwhelming than she had ever imagined. She stepped closer, letting her hand brush against his. I can't believe it, she whispered. After all these years, after everything we've been through, it's really you. Kale reached out, taking her hand gently in his own. It is me, Zara, and I have missed you more than words can say. The garden seemed to hold its breath as they stood together, connected not just by the present, but by the years of memory, longing, and unspoken promises. The weight of the war, the pain of separation, and the challenges of leadership all seemed to fade for a moment, leaving only the bond they had always shared. Zara felt a mixture of joy and sorrow. Joy because her friend had returned, and sorrow because so much time had been lost. So much has changed, she said softly. We've both changed. I don't know if things can ever be the same. Kyle smiled gently. Change is part of life, Zara, but some things never change. The trust we had, the friendship we shared, that is still here, and now we have a chance to build something new, together. They continued walking, sharing more memories, laughing softly at stories long forgotten, and speaking of the hopes they had once held. The conversation turned to the war, to the victories and losses, to the faces of friends who had been lost along the way. Kyle spoke with honesty and courage, never hiding the pain he had endured. Zara listened, her heart heavy for what he had suffered, but also filled with admiration for the strength he had shown. By the time the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Zara and Kale had rediscovered the connection they had feared was lost forever. The garden, once a place of childhood play, had become a place of revelation and healing. They had shared their truths, acknowledged their past, and begun to bridge the gap between who they had been and who they had become. As night fell, they returned to the palace, the first stars twinkling above. Zara felt a sense of peace she had not known for years. She had found her friend, her companion, and perhaps even a part of herself that had been missing. Kale had returned not just as a hero of war, but as the boy who had been by her side in her earliest memories, the one she had trusted with her heart. In the quiet of her chamber that night, Zara reflected on the day's revelations. The past had been filled with longing and loss, but the present offered hope. She knew challenges lay ahead, political duties, public expectations, and the responsibility of leadership. But with Kyle by her side, she felt ready to face them. More than that, she felt a renewed sense of connection, a reminder that even across time and distance, true bonds could endure. Somewhere deep inside, Zara knew this was only the beginning. The reunion had revealed truths long hidden, emotions long buried, and promises long forgotten. And as she looked out at the stars, she felt certain that the journey ahead, though uncertain, would be brighter with Kale by her side. The hero had returned. The princess had rediscovered her friend, and in that quiet, golden moment, both realized that the past and the present could come together, creating a future filled with hope, trust, and the enduring power of friendship. The days following Kale's return were filled with both excitement and tension. Peace had returned to the galaxy, But rebuilding a world after years of war was never easy. Princess Zara found herself surrounded by advisors, diplomats, and citizens who relied on her guidance. Every decision she made mattered. Every step she took was watched. And now, with Kale by her side, she faced a new challenge, the struggle between duty and the emotions that had begun to stir within her. Kale had taken on an active role in the rebuilding efforts. He traveled to cities damaged by the war, met with local leaders, and helped organize programs to support families who had lost everything. His presence inspired the people. They saw not only a hero, but a man who cared deeply for their well-being. Zara admired him for his dedication, but she also worried. Kyle's involvement in every aspect of governance left little room for rest, and she feared he would push himself too far. One afternoon, they met in the palace council room. Maps were spread across the table, detailing cities, trade routes, and strategic rebuilding plans. Advisors argued over resources while diplomats discussed alliances and treaties. Zara felt the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her, heavier than ever. Kale noticed her tense expression. "Zara," he said softly, "you need to take care of yourself. You can't carry everything alone." Zara looked up, meeting his eyes. "I know, Kyle, but my people need me. Every decision I make affects thousands of lives. I cannot afford to be weak or distracted." Kale reached across the table, placing his hand gently over hers. "You are not weak. You are strong. But even the strongest leaders need support. Let me help you. Let me share the burden." Zara felt warmth spread through her chest at his words, but a part of her hesitated. She had spent years learning to rely only on herself, to make decisions alone. To allow someone, especially Kale, to share that responsibility felt strange. Yet deep down she trusted him more than anyone in the galaxy. Slowly she nodded. "All right. Together then." Their work continued late into the evening. They reviewed plans for schools, hospitals, and housing for those displaced by the war. Every choice required careful thought, but Kale's presence made the process easier. He offered insights, remembered details from his travels, and reminded Zara of the small things that could make a big difference for the people. Together, they were stronger, more capable, and more determined. But their growing closeness did not go unnoticed. Some members of the palace council whispered behind their backs, questioning the bond between the princess and the hero. Were personal feelings clouding judgment? Could emotions interfere with the rebuilding efforts? Zara tried to ignore these doubts, but she could feel the tension in the room whenever Kyle spoke directly to her. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Zara retreated to the palace gardens. The moon cast a silver glow over the flowers, and the air was cool and fragrant. Kyle found her sitting on a bench, staring at the stars. He sat beside her quietly, letting her gather her thoughts. "You've been quiet today," Kale said gently. "Are you all right?" Zara sighed. "I'm fine, Kale. It's just difficult sometimes. People expect so much. They want peace, but they also expect perfection. And now, with you here, I feel distracted." Kale turned to her, his eyes filled with understanding. "Distracted by me?" Zara nodded slowly. I don't want personal feelings to interfere with my duty, but I cannot deny what I feel, Kale. You've returned after so many years, and my heart, it still remembers you." Kale reached for her hand, holding it gently. "Zara, I feel the same. I have never forgotten you. The bond we shared as children, it never left me. And now, I want to be by your side, not just as a hero, but as someone you can trust, someone who will support you in every way." Zara felt tears prick her eyes. She had longed for this connection, but the weight of duty made her hesitate. "It is not easy," she whispered. "We have responsibilities. People depend on us. We cannot let emotions cloud our judgment." Kyle squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I understand, but emotions are not always a weakness. They remind us why we fight, why we protect, and why we care. Together, we can balance duty and heart." For a long moment, they sat in silence, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the city. Zara realized that Kale's words were true. Her feelings for him did not have to be a distraction. They could be a source of strength. She could trust him, lean on him, and still fulfill her duties as a ruler. The next few days were a test of this balance. Zara and Kale worked tirelessly, navigating the demands of leadership while slowly acknowledging their growing bond. They faced unexpected challenges, disputes over resource distribution, protests from citizens frustrated by slow recovery, and diplomatic tensions with neighboring planets. Each problem required careful negotiation, patience, and teamwork. Through it all, Kale remained steadfast. He supported Zara not only in official matters but also in personal ones. He reminded her to rest, encouraged her to speak openly, and shared moments of laughter that brought relief from the stress of leadership. Slowly, Zara allowed herself to lean on him, realizing that their partnership, both professional and personal, made her stronger. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, they walked together along the palace walls, overlooking the city below. The streets were quiet, the lights twinkling like stars on the ground. Zara leaned slightly on Kale's shoulder, feeling the comfort of his presence. "You have changed me, Kale," she said softly. "You remind me that it is okay to feel, even when the world demands strength. You remind me why I fight, not just for duty but for hope, for people, and for friendship." Kyle smiled, his eyes warm. "And you remind me why I fight as well. You give me purpose beyond the battles, beyond the victories. With you, I feel complete." For a moment, the weight of duty lifted, replaced by a quiet understanding and mutual respect. They knew the challenges ahead would not be easy. There would be obstacles, both political and personal, and the expectations of the people could not be ignored. Yet they also knew that together they could face anything. The struggle of duty and emotion was not over, but Zara and Kale had taken the first step toward balance. They had discovered that strength could coexist with feeling, and that leadership did not mean facing the world alone. Hand in hand, they returned to the palace, ready to face the future, whatever it might hold together. And as the stars shone above, both felt a quiet hope. The war had ended, the galaxy was healing, and two hearts, reunited after years of separation, had found a way to navigate the delicate dance between duty and emotion. The sun rose over Eldoria, casting warm golden light across the palace and the city below. The galaxy was at peace, and for the first time in many years, Princess Zara felt a sense of calm. The war had ended, the cities were slowly rebuilding, and the people had begun to smile again. But amidst the peace, Zara's mind was not on politics or rebuilding plans. It was on Kale. Kale had become more than a hero to her people. He had become a partner, a friend, and someone she trusted completely. The bond they had rediscovered over the past weeks had grown stronger, a combination of respect, shared memories, and a deep understanding that only those who had faced great challenges together could share. Yet both of them knew that leadership required careful balance. Their personal connection could not overshadow their duties to the galaxy. One morning, as the city below slowly awakened, Zara called Kyle to the balcony of her private chamber. The cool morning breeze ruffled their hair, and the distant sounds of the marketplace floated up to them. "Kale," Zara began, her voice gentle, "it feels like everything is finally moving in the right direction. The people are hopeful and the galaxy is quiet for the first time in decades." Kale nodded, looking out at the horizon. "It is quiet, yes. But quiet does not mean we can stop. Rebuilding will take time, patience, and effort, and there will always be challenges we cannot yet see." Zara smiled faintly. "I know. But I also know that with you by my side, I feel stronger. The challenges seem less frightening." Kale turned to her, his eyes soft with emotion. "Zara, I have thought about something a lot since I returned. We have been given a second chance, not just for peace, but for each other. I want to be by your side, not only as your ally, but in every way that matters." Zara's heart skipped a beat. She had hoped for this, but hearing it aloud made the feelings she had kept inside overflow. "Kyle, I feel the same. The years of separation, the war, they made me realize how important you are to me. I cannot imagine facing this future without you." They stood together on the balcony, hands gently touching, feeling the warmth of the moment. The galaxy stretched out before them, a canvas of endless possibilities. For the first time in years, Zara allowed herself to imagine a future not burdened solely by duty, but shared with someone who understood her heart completely. Over the next days, they worked tirelessly side by side, continuing the efforts to rebuild the cities, care for the displaced, and establish new trade and friendship agreements with neighboring planets. Every challenge they faced tested their patience, judgment, and teamwork, but it also strengthened their connection. The people noticed, and their confidence in the princess and the hero grew. They were leaders who could feel, care, and act with wisdom, a rare combination. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Zara and Kale walked through the palace gardens. The flowers were in full bloom, and the soft glow of lanterns reflected in the water of the palace fountains. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blossoms and the gentle chirping of birds settling for the night. "Do you remember," Kale began, "the garden when we were children? The secret paths we used to explore?" Zara laughed softly. "Of course I do. We thought no one could find us there. We spent hours pretending we were explorers, discovering new worlds." Kale smiled, his eyes reflecting the soft lantern light. "It feels like that again, doesn't it? Like we are discovering something new together." Zara felt a warmth spread through her chest. Yes, only now it is not just a game, it is real. We have been given a chance to build something meaningful, for ourselves and for the galaxy. They walked in silence for a moment, letting the sounds of the night and the beauty of the garden fill the space between them. Then Kale spoke again, his voice quiet but firm. "Zara, I know the road ahead will not be easy. Rebuilding a galaxy, leading a people, and navigating the responsibilities of peace. It will be difficult, but I want to face it all with you. I want to be your partner in every way that matters." Zara turned to him, her eyes shining. "Kale, I want that too. We can face everything together. We can balance duty and heart, responsibility and love. We can build a future that honors the past and embraces what is to come." The garden seemed to hold its breath as they stood together, hand in hand, ready to face the challenges ahead. In that moment, they were not just a princess and a hero. They were two friends, two companions, two hearts that had been reunited and had grown stronger through time, distance, and experience. In the days that followed, their bond became an example for the people. They saw that love and duty could coexist. They saw that leaders could feel deeply, care genuinely, and still make wise decisions. The city thrived, the people smiled, and the galaxy slowly healed from the wounds of war. Zara and Kale spent time not only in official matters, but also in quiet moments together. They walked through the markets, visited schools and hospitals, and listened to the stories of those who had survived the war. Each story reminded them why they fought, why they led, and why their bond mattered, not just to each other, but to the galaxy itself. One quiet evening, as the sun set in shades of gold and pink, Zara and Kale stood on the highest balcony of the palace. The city stretched out before them, a mosaic of lights, life, and hope. "Kale," Zara said softly, "we have come so far, from children playing in the garden to leaders of a healed galaxy, and yet through it all, the one constant has been you, my friend, my companion, my heart." Kyle took her hand, holding it gently. "And you, Zara, have been my guide, my hope, and my home. We have faced war, separation, and uncertainty, but now we have each other, and that is stronger than anything else." They stood together in silence, letting the moment settle. The stars appeared above, twinkling like distant lanterns in the night sky. It was as if the universe itself had witnessed their journey, from childhood friendship, through war and hardship, to reunion and hope. Princess Zara realized that the story of her childhood friend and the hero was not just a tale of war and victory, but a story of enduring trust, loyalty, and love. They had survived the trials of life, the weight of responsibility, and the uncertainties of the galaxy. And now, standing together, they were ready to face whatever came next. The city below shone with life, the people moving with renewed energy and purpose. The war had ended, but a new chapter had begun, one of peace, growth, and shared dreams. And in the hearts of Princess Zara and Kale, a quiet but powerful truth remained. No matter the challenges, no matter the distance, some bonds are stronger than time, stronger than fear, and stronger than war itself. With hands intertwined and hearts united, they turned from the balcony, ready to step forward into the future together. The galaxy was healing, and so were they. The hero and the princess had found not only peace for the galaxy, but also the peace and joy that comes from finding a lifelong friend, and a love that had always been waiting. The stars above sparkled brightly that night, as if celebrating with them. The war was behind them, but the journey ahead promised hope, happiness, and the promise of a new beginning. And for Princess Zara and Kale, the greatest victory was not the end of the war. It was the discovery that they had always belonged together.